Hi, this is Eunice from the Nifty Club, and for today we are going to make a very easy halter top knit. So let's get started. So you're gonna need some tape measure, 9mm knitting needles, some tapestry needles, and for the yarn I am using a double pull of 8-ply milk cotton yarn, but any chunky yarn will do. And some optionals are some 9mm crochet hook and a 4mm knitting needles for the cord. So now, time for our gauge. This is to ensure a good fit on our body. For mine, I did 7 stitches for my cast on. And in my case, luckily, 1 stitch is equivalent to 1 centimeter. As you can see, my 7 stitches is equal to 7 centimeters as well. So now that I've done this, I'm just gonna measure my bust and where I want the top to end. Keep in mind that knit is a bit stretchy, so make it less than you would actually want it to be. So here is a little formula just in case your stitches doesn't equate to 1 centimeter like mine. It's a very simple calculation. And so after this, we're gonna do our ribbing for our tube top. So now we're gonna do our Tunisian crochet ribbing. This is very optional. I've linked some tutorials for knit ribbing down below, but for my case, I'm gonna use this. So as mentioned earlier, I need 56 centimeters. So I am gonna chain 56 plus 1. It should be an even number, your chains, but after your foundation chain, it's gonna end up with 57 later on, but that's what we want, so we can divide the tube top evenly. So here I've done mine, 56 plus 1 chain, and then I'm gonna start off at the 56 stitch. So here I'm just doing my single crochet. Keep the stitches very loose because it's gonna curl up if you don't keep it loose. So here you can just leave 1 stitch and use the knitting needle to hold all the stitches in place. So you can see I'm not closing the stitches, I'm creating loops instead because this is Tunisian crochet. So I'm just gonna do all of this until it looks like that. And here I'm gonna do my return pass now that I'm at the end. So for the return pass, I'm gonna yarn over, pull through 1 loop at the start, and then I'm gonna pull through 2 loops. Whenever there's only 2 stitches or 2 loops left on your hook, you're gonna want to add more loops into your hook before you continue your return pass. So here I'm just repeating the steps. So I'm gonna insert all the loops on my hook, gonna yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and now this is what it should look like. Now that you've done it, this is the back and that is the front. And to finish it off, here I'm just doing the couple of loops left. And for our cast on, we're gonna do our knitting after this one. So I'm just inserting my hook at the 2 front loops right there, as you saw. But I'm not gonna use my crochet hook once I finish this step anymore. I'm just inserting my knitting needles for this loop, and this will act as our cast on. So now I'm just finishing it up. Here are the last few loops, and now I'm just gonna insert my needle on the loops that we made, and this is our cast on. So now that we've done this, we are gonna do our knit and purl stitch because we're gonna do a stockinette pattern. After our ribbing, we're gonna do knit stitch. As you can see here, I am inserting my hook to the back, and I'm gonna do a loop from the back to the front. I'm gonna put my needle at the front and then let go of the thread. I'm gonna do it once more so you can see it, looping it from the back to the front, and then that's our knit stitch. And so now I'm just gonna repeat this step up until all of the loops are transferred to the other needle. And this is what it should look like. So I'm just gonna finish up this last loop on my needle. And so now that is our knit stitch done, and also our third round done. So after we've done our knit round, we're gonna do our purl round. So the wrong side should be facing you at this point, like so. And so to purl, make sure that your yarn is above your hand. I'm gonna insert my my needle to the front, and then I'm gonna loop from the back to the front like this, and I'm gonna let go of the loop to transfer it to the other needle. So I'm gonna do it again, inserting my needle to the front of the loop, looping it from the back to the front, and then letting go of that loop. So I'm just gonna repeat this process until I finish my round. And after this, we're gonna do another round of knit, another round of purl, up until you've reached your desired length. For mine, this is some sort of bralette, but you can do longer or shorter, whatever you want. So now it's time for our cast off. So here is what I've done so far. This is the wrong side, and make sure when you're casting off, you're facing the right side like this, where you would knit. So to cast off, I'm just doing my knit stitch like usual. And so I'm doing 2 stitches of knit, and once I have 2 loops on the other needle, I'm gonna bring over the first loop that I did to the front like this one. And so you're supposed to end with just 1 loop. And so repeat this step, place 2 loops on the other needle, and when you have 2 loops, bring the first loop to the front like this, and just repeat this step up until you've done all the loops. And so now I have my last 2 loops in here, and to finish the casting off, I'm still gonna do my usual, so putting the first loop at the front, and when you have the last loop, I'm just gonna pull through my yarn like so, and that it's done. We can just cut off this yarn. Now we're gonna do our I-cord or the straps. You can do it in 2 ways, with a knitting needle or with a crochet hook. So for the first option, I'm going to show you how to do it with a knitting needle. Here I'm using my 4mm needle. You can use the 9mm like we did for the body, but I like mine on the thinner side. So here I'm just casting on 2 stitches, like 2 loops like this, and now I'm going to knit this. I'm gonna loop over and then bring it to the front, and once I have transferred all the loops to the other needle, switching that off. So now that I've transferred it to the other needle, I'm not gonna purl or anything. I'm just gonna put all the loops back to the needle where we first started, like this. And so now I'm gonna knit. I'm just gonna pull my yarn to the front, and then use my needle to bring that yarn to the right side like this, and then I'm gonna continue doing knit stitches. And that's basically the whole process on creating an I-cord with knit. and you're just gonna repeat doing that until you have a strap that's long enough. And now to close it off, once that I've transferred it again to the other needle, I'm just gonna do the exact same thing like we did on the cast off. So I'm just gonna pull the first loop at the front, and you can cut this yarn off and you're done. And now for the crochet hook, you need a double pull for this one, basically 2 strands of yarn for it to work. So now I'm just doing my slip knot, and our purple yarn is the working yarn, the one we're gonna place in our hands. And so to start off, I'm gonna use the other yarn from from the front to the back, and then the purple one is from the back to the front, and I'm gonna pull over 3 loops like this for the first one, and after that we're just gonna pull through 2 loops. So front to back, and then back to front, and then pull through 2 loops. Again, just for good measure, I'm gonna put the pink from front to back, and the purple I'm gonna yarn over back to front. And that's the process. You're just gonna keep repeating this step over until you have a cord that's long enough for the straps. So now to close it off, I'm just gonna put both of the yarn in my hands, and I'm gonna yarn over both of them, pull through the 2 strands of yarn like this, and then you can just cut this off. So now it's time to put them all together. This is what my body looks so far. It's just a long strip, kind of a rectangular shape. And since I have 57 stitches, I counted off 28 on the either side, and the last stitch will be placed in the middle like this one. So I'm just gonna pull through my strap like this, right in the middle stitch like so. By the way, I used the 4mm knitting needles as a method for my I-cord. So now I'm just gonna turn this one over, and I'm gonna do a crisscross pattern at the back side. I'm just gonna feed it through the last stitch like this, and also repeat that on the other side as well, like so. And then after this, we are just gonna do a crisscross pattern for this one. So I'm gonna count off 4. So I'm gonna do my crisscross on every 4th stitch. You can do whichever you prefer, but I prefer mine this way. So I'm just finishing this off, counting off every 4th stitch. And so I'm just gonna repeat this process, and the top is done. So here is the finished top. If you try to recreate this, do tag me on Instagram at the Nifty Club so I can see your version, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.